Cue to draw coffins, I was hypnotized to imagine seeing the album cover for the song Coffin by Eminem and Jessie Reyez, and I was hypnotized to think that Eminem wanted me to draw coffins representing his album Music to be Murdered By. In an attempt to conceal the hypnosis abusively inhibiting me, I was hypnotized to think that there were specific terms and conditions in the contract with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. That my hand would cramp while writing song and artist names in one of the hypnotic art collages. If the song or artist wasn't one of my absolute favorite songs or artists. This was also done to excuse the hypnotic inhibition as something that was my fault to conceal the abuse, such as hypnotizing me to think my hand was cramping because I didn't care about Cody enough, instead of my hand cramping as a method of concealing evidence of murder. The hypnotic art collages were made by telling a story, message, or idea, by writing a series of song titles by my favorite artists and drawing over mistakes in my handwriting with various pictures I was hypnotized to draw, since I didn't have an eraser. In an attempt to change the format of the hypnotic collages, I was hypnotized to try a different format based off Eminem's album Music to be Murdered By, but I didn't like the format as much as what I was already doing, and the hypnosis wasn't altering my handwriting in the manner necessary for the alternative format to work. The alternative hypnotic collage format was to think of the hypnotic collage as a competition where the best songs or the best artist would win. For example, each song and artist I wrote down would be compared to the next song and artist I wrote down, and I would be hypnotized to cramp my hand while writing the song and artist that lost, resulting in me having to draw a picture over the losing song and artist in the picture. I was hypnotized to think that the coffins I was hypnotized to draw would metaphorically represent Eminem murdering the other artists in the competition by winning and simultaneously promoting his newest album, Music to be Murdered By, with a metaphor. An example of this was being hypnotized to think if Justin Bieber was my favorite artist, it meant I was Mormon, and that if Eminem was my favorite artist, it meant I was political. The content I was writing pertained to trauma from finding Cody dead in the woods, and the concept was that if I was religious, I would have viewed the death as forgivable because everything happens for a reason, and he's in a better place now. But if I was political, I would have viewed his death as a murder. I made a mistake in my handwriting, and I wanted to draw a simple bushy tree with a noose knot hanging from the tree next to the abbreviation MTBMB, which stands for Music to be Murdered By, because I thought it was wrong what they did to him and that hypnotizing someone to commit suicide was equivalent to murder. I was actually hypnotized not to draw trees because it was too specific to Cody's murder, while a box could represent several other things besides a coffin. I was hypnotized to mess up the drawing of the tree because the hypnosis could repress the drawing from my memory afterwards as long as I didn't have a tree drawn on the picture. I was hypnotized to draw the base of the tree too large, turning the drawing into a picture of a nuclear power plant cooling tower, and to think of world power referring to electricity, and to think of Russia. Then I was hypnotized to mess up the nuclear power plant cooling tower by drawing the object too wide, turning the picture into a mushroom cloud from a nuclear explosion or nuclear bomb, and to think that the meaning of the abbreviation MTBMB changed from Music to be Murdered By to Music to Bomb. I was hypnotized to think that the mushroom cloud meant dropping the bomb that Eminem was my favorite artist because he's political. The metaphorical representation that the drawing was about music was also used as a method of distracting attention from the hypnosis concealing evidence of murder. So, as you can see here, I'll just show you on the list. This is an example of just a simple bushy tree with some roots at the bottom, little noose knot hanging. And then you could imagine here is a nuclear power plant cooling tower, and you can also imagine how Drawing the tree too wide could turn it into a nuclear power plant cooling tower on accident. And then even from drawing that too wide to drawing this too wide, I mean, you could draw this much wider and it'd still, resemble a mushroom cloud from a bomb. Anyways, so that's what ended up happening there. In one specific instance. And, of course, this was unsuccessful, by the way, but moving on. So, let's see. I was hypnotized to write and draw on the front of the postcards to impair my ability to legibly write the return and sending address enough that the postcards would be denied and returned to me by the post office in order to completely isolate me from my friends and family. When I was hypnotized to draw on the postcards, the drawings were actually evidence. I was hypnotized in order to prevent me from using the drawings as evidence. I was hypnotized to attempt to send the postcards because it required me to write over the drawings, which significantly impaired the evidence on the postcards, which you can see right here. So I'll go into further details with that. On one of the postcards, I wrote, "This jail is making me worse, waste everyone's time and money. It's also destroying my health. Do you want me to tell everyone in court about the hypnotherapy that got me false charges? Or would you rather just drop the charges or let me get mental health court and pretend this entire thing never happened? My mom owes me over $500. Send it on my books. Need phone calls. I love you. Would love, Matthew Jester." And this one. So it's upside down. You can see here. Luckily, this is still just barely legible. You can see hypnotherapy right there, but like I described, this is what I was writing. This is what I wrote on it. Would you like me to tell everyone about the hypnotherapy that got me false charges? Or would you rather just drop the charges? And you can see I had some difficulty writing. Obviously, this would have been very elaborate to try to forge. Very difficult to do. Especially considering the timestamp. And the denied sticker, much more difficult to do. So anyways, and also, I don't even know where you can get these types of postcards, but yeah. So there's that one. Let's see. I was hypnotized to cross something else out. I wrote about hypnosis, which again, or unfortunately, partially impairs the integrity of the evidence. So, as you can see, it's right here. You can see the H, the Y, and the P, and then looks like the N, O, S, and then you can't see very much after that. But there's not too many other words that can, that start out that way. And let's see, on the other postcard I wrote, "Jail is making me worse. Let me out, please. It's torture, and I'll send you $300 for rent if I can get out of jail. I also have a friend I can stay with if need be. Love you." Let's see, so I'm going to go ahead and show. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have the timestamp, but see, "Jail is making me worse. It's torture." And then, let's see. This one also has the pictures on it. Oh wait, I'll pay you $300 for rent if I get out of jail. I also have a friend I can stay with if need be. Love you. And then you can see here that these are some of the drawings. This picture specifically, I did draw an Adderall pill on it with a 30 inscription, with the number 30 inscribed on it. And which would have resembled something very similar to this, where the horizontal lines made it look like the pill was spinning as if it was thrown in a spiral, like a football. And that is extremely important, because that is, evidence. Unfortunately, you can't see that on the postcard, but regardless of such, you can see that I did draw some pills on here, which does give that's a portion of one right here, which does give the claim a little bit more additional validity. And then you can see I wrote G-Easy and Nootrop Shop, which was an idea that I had for a nootropics supplement store. That would be a cognitive and memory enhancing supplements as a healthy and safe alternative to Adderall and Ritalin on college campuses. And I also describe in more detail later, but let's see. The postcards are, oh yeah, that's right. So the postcards are actually the only sample I have of my handwriting before I was taught to change my handwriting and the letter formation and in my handwriting with hypnosis while in jail. I will show a comparison of the variations in my handwriting very briefly as well. So, I'll go ahead and, let's see. We'll go ahead and just do some comparison. So, as you can see, I have a side-by-side comparison, very neat and legible handwriting sample. Well, I mean, of course, I wrote like I wrote the handwriting and the letter formation before and after the hypnosis. The hypnosis is inhibiting me right now, so I apologize about the stuttering, difficulty speaking. So, let's see. I'll just try to pull up some samples here. Okay, so as you can see, that letter A, a couple of capital letter A's drawn with points instead of curvature. Sometimes the points are still there regardless. Let's see, the letter C, exaggerated curvature at the top, and you can see that's a very consistent pattern here in my handwriting, but it doesn't show up here. If I have any, there's a C, and the timestamp there, and then let's see. There is another C. Might not be necessarily the best sample that I have, but it's there. And then E. So you can actually see it's on the other postcard, I believe, when I wrote the return address. But let's see, so you can see the E is more block shaped. Points, more sharp edges and points. That's the word that was repressed from my memory, edges. And then you can also see that the E's are drawn with a loop at the top in these previous samples here, which is a very notable difference. And all the other samples, you can see that I draw the E's like a backwards number 3. So that's what I was taught to change it to. The G's, same thing with an exaggerated curvature at the top. The I's, this is this one I have been staying less adamant regarding not drawing the top and bottom horizontal intersecting lines, but the basic pattern of increased curvature with after the hypnosis, less curvature, more rigid edges and points on the previous sample. And then in lowercase, the A's are very significantly different, as you can see, where there is the little line protruding from the top of the A, going up vertically and then to the left horizontally. And this is very consistent in my handwriting. There's another A. Currently. There's another one. Let's see. I was also hypnotized to add something called a felon's claw, which is an acute angle from the this is what it's referred to in graphology, which is a little bit different than handwriting analysis that the FBI would use, but regardless, this was done intentionally just because it is a personality trait or characteristic that is seen in 90% of inmates in the penitentiary. It's a sign of deceit, and which is why they call it the felon's claw. But you can see that like in the Y's, the G's, that is not a pattern. In fact, oftentimes there's no curve at all almost in these letters. There's very slight curve even in the G's. So you can see there's a very significant difference there. J's as well. Let's see. J isn't as common of a letter, but there is a J right there. You can see that's not pointed at all, not an acute angle. Very slightly curved even, not very significant curvature. But, yeah, anyways. But you can see this is a consistent pattern relatively in my handwriting. Like in the word ninja. And moving on from that. There is one letter E, actually, which was written like a backwards number 3 in the sending address. And as evidence that I was, of when I started changing my handwriting, because it's not consistent showing up in the lettering here. Let me see. Here, capital lettering for the letter E. I mean, you could probably see it in the other one. And the content on this letter is just a little confusing, which is why I'm not showing it right now. Guaranteed I'm not trying to be intentionally deceitful or trying to withhold any important information. It's just could require a little bit of context for understanding, but regardless of such, it's just the lettering isn't there. So I'm not going to bother showing the sample unnecessarily. You can see in need, it's a little bit more difficult actually to make out in that one. Phone, you can kind of see that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of samples of the letter E's written in my handwriting. Of course, this is an extreme exaggeration of the rigid, straight line handwriting, just to ensure as a method of overcompensating for legibility. So it's not the best sample, although it is how I would draw my E's before I was hypnotized to change it. But you can even see what I mean by that is the letter A looks like a box. The letter O looks like a box. Sharp corners. I could try to take out the sticker, but I don't want to impair anything. Anyways. Yeah. So at least that's evidence of the genuine aspect, right? Because, if the timestamp wasn't enough, the fact that it was denied and has the locker number from the jail. So, and, the sincerity with what is considered a valid sample or not, even if it's something that would work in my favor. But, moving on. Let's see. Sensitive portion of the send to address, which is why you would see this right there. Actually, nope. Not that I can see, at least. Regardless. It's not on this one either. Yeah. That would be the letter O, which looks more like a square, but yeah, that's the letter E that I was referencing. There might have been a capital letter E actually up at the top of this, but I don't see it. No, wait. Yeah, that's not a good sample of it. Because the E in easy isn't very legible. You can see, you can kind of make out like that, yeah, it definitely looks like I was writing G easy. And I also wrote Nostalgia Cycle, which was a song he wrote. Right there. But regardless, I'm not entirely sure what this was supposed to represent either. FA. Regardless, so there's that done. I was hypnotized to think writing on the sides, edges, borders of the postcards was metaphorically considered writing on the walls and was illegal, like when a referee penalizes a player in a game of football. And I was hypnotized to think writing on the walls of the postcard was the reason the postcards were denied and returned by the post office. So as the example is right here, that's what it means by writing on the walls. Jail is making me worse. It's torture. Let's see. There's on the front, I believe, as well. Yeah, right there. There. Yeah, and then yeah, like right here at the top. And then we'll go ahead and get finished. I was told that every time I went grocery shopping or went out to eat, that I was making commercials. I was told that Donald Trump had a contract with the Make-A-Wish Foundation where every dollar that I spent, Donald Trump had to spend $1 million to pay for the movie production and commercial, which is where the 30 milligram Adderall was a reference to $300 million. So that's where that came from. I was also told that COVID-19 was a zombie apocalypse theme for my movie, and that the COVID-19 stimulus bills were funding my movie production. The social worker that hypnotized me in Jordan Valley Medical Center financially exploited me by telling me that America's economy is based off products valuing quality over quantity, and that every product I'd buy would be sponsored by the company that made it, and that I needed to buy brand name products to advertise for them, which is obviously financial exploitation because brand name products are more expensive than generics. The social worker also told me that I had a Roche sponsorship and that Roche was going to let me advertise Valium and Klonopin as high-quality pharmaceuticals in comparison to Xanax by Pfizer, which is FDA approved in stronger dosages and available in a larger quantity as a tranquilizer than Valium and Klonopin are FDA approved for. The social worker also told me that the cooks at Jordan Valley Medical Center really prided themselves on the quality of the food that they cooked, and that I was supposed to go back there and ask for Valium. The social worker told me that the sooner